What up, y'all? Bit by bit, episode 3. So we got the third member of the audience here, right? So OJ, kick us off with the intro and the price and all that good stuff.
All right, so I just checked the price, 94,000. Um, you know, first two episodes we did, I think the price was at like 100. Then the next one might have been 98, so it's just a more of a load up opportunity. But Ace, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
What up, everybody? Finally making my appearance. Well Squad Ace, aka No Time Zone, and we back doing what we do best.
All right, so we got a $94,000 Bitcoin. Have y'all bought any more? What y'all think about the price? Because episode 1, the price was at 104. Episode 2, the price is at 98, and now it's 94. So who floated?
The way I see it, we 13% from all time highs. So any add from here is an easy layup.
Hey, wait,
Yep.
we just hit 93.8. I'm about to buy some more right on the pod. Fuck it. I bought a 10 piece yesterday. Let me just buy some more right now, man.
Yep.
So hey, I had this thought today, which I ended up putting on Twitter, in that your mind, your heart wants Bitcoin to go up, right? Your mind knows Bitcoin is going to go up, right? And your pockets need Bitcoin to stay down, right?
Yeah.
So it's in your best interest if Bitcoin stays low. So you can buy as much as possible. And I think we explained this on episode 1, how if you put $1,000 in and Bitcoin goes to $1,000,000 tomorrow, your 1,000 became 10,000. Like that's cool, but imagine if it would have if it would have stayed flat for a year and then 10x. Now you can put 10,000 in, your 10,000 goes to 100,000. So the price of Bitcoin is going to run eventually, right? Because we got a water faucet in the Federal Reserve that never turns off. They're printing all this money, and that's going to send the price up. You don't want it to happen too fast because you need to be able to load the bases, and you load the bases when the price gets hit. What y'all think about that?
Yeah, I agree with that too. And I was just gonna say, like, when you go down that Bitcoin standard, you always feel like you don't have enough Bitcoin. Like, it doesn't matter how much you load up, you just always feel like you don't have enough Bitcoin. And when the prices are lower, they're coming from an all-time high. Like Ace was saying, it's a 13% layup. You're just trying to do whatever you can do to load up fast as possible because like we all know where the price is headed. Like it's wired to go up forever. So we're just trying to see how much can we get in at like a certain price point. So that's the way I see it.
And for me, the way I see it is I'm just trying to get rid of these nasty dollars as best as I can, as quick as I can. So, you know, I don't want to say that the
No
Bitcoin
freaky ass dollars.
yeah, them,
Dollars.
them dirty D's. But
Them
but
Diddy dollars.
yeah, but on a serious note, I don't want to say that Bitcoin price doesn't matter to me, but it almost doesn't matter to me in the sense because I just want to get dollars however I get my dollars, and I want to get it over into Bitcoin as quickly and as swiftly as possible for the simple fact that I just don't want them dirty dollars anymore because I know that game, right? I'm so far down that I see what's going on over there, and I don't want any more parts of it. Like I want to completely remove myself from everything that system. And Chris, we had a conversation how we were talking earlier that everything you do in that old system, you're contributing to the nasty games that are being played at a high level. So that's kind of my take on
Hey, no Diddy dollars over here. Yeah. We get rid of all them Diddy dollars, all them dirty Diddy dollars.
I was gonna ask, did it take you some time to like get over like that? Okay, I don't care about the price. I'm not really gonna look at the chart. I'm gonna just click buy. Because for me, it took me a little while to like, let me leave the price alone, trying to snipe my like if it falls, it falls. I get lucky. That's when I have money to buy. But was it like a major hump for you to like kind of get over that?
I had these weird realizations the last couple of times I was out in Europe. So in April, I had a crazy realization, and then probably about 2 or 3 months ago, I had another crazy realization. But what I've been doing is I've been going back and watching a lot of older Bitcoin documentaries. and it's probably one of my favorite things to do. And I recommend a lot of people go out there and find as many documentaries as you can, and maybe we'll throw a few of them on here. But there was one in particular that really changed the way how I think and how I feel about Bitcoin and watching the price. There was and I forget the exact name of the documentary, but they were following this guy. So this guy, he went all in on Bitcoin. His family was behind him, and he was talking about Bitcoin so much that his brother was kind of amazed by this and decided to pack up his gear, go to his brother's house, follow his brother around, and kind of follow him on his journey. And this guy's conviction, we're talking, I believe Bitcoin was at the $5 to $10 price range or somewhere around there. And this guy had so much conviction back then that everything that was going on, the price had shot up to like $80 and then fell back down, and this dude didn't fold. His mission was still the same. He realized that no matter what goes on over here in this system, he just knew that the current system that he was a part of was not working. It was literally a sinking ship. And
Yeah.
so for me, going back, watching those documentaries, seeing how much conviction these people had way before we had the ETFs, way before you seen it being talked about so much on social media, way before all these things that we have now, that it's like, yo, if these people had this much conviction back then, why do I not have this much conviction now when we're so much further ahead in the future? And, you know, for me, that's just kind of where it is. So it's like, my
Yeah, that makes
conviction,
sense.
yeah, my conviction is so solid with this that I don't want to say that price doesn't matter, because obviously price matters. But for me, I'm just at that phase where when I get dollars, I don't want them. I need to convert them over as quickly as I can.
Hey, bro, hold on. Let's talk about how we met, bro. Let's go because on
Okay.
episode 1, we gave me and OJ gave a story of how we met. Let's talk about how me and you met.
All right. So me and Chris were both in the military. He was an Army guy. I was an Air Force guy. And we both happened to get selected for this special unit that was a mix of Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines. And so we had a training in the States. And at the training, we didn't talk. We didn't really talk much. We were in the same class. I think he asked me a couple questions. I believe he asked me something about Kobe or something like that. And I'm like, man, it was like 9:30 in the morning. I'm like, I don't know what y'all talking about, but I
Don't be
just,
on your mind at 9:30
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, yeah. So I'm just like, whatever. I just, I think
Hey,
like,
he's juicing it.
uh,
Hey, maybe that was after lunch, bro, because 9:30 is
nah,
crazy.
bro, you was coming in.
9:30 is
Nah,
crazy.
he would come in chatty. He was a chatty catty in the class, coming in like all
Hey,
perky
niggas gonna talk about
in the
all
morning.
types of other stuff. I'm like, hey, bro, who y'all think was the best hooper?
Yeah, he coming in all perky in the morning and stuff, all chatty, this and that. I'm like, man, I just came. I was at the strip club at East St. Louis until 5 in the morning. It's like I ain't trying to hear all this. Nah, but
Hey,
so
you know what's crazy? I end up going. Remember that one? I think he's like Dominican or
yeah,
Puerto Rican cat.
yeah,
Bro had me in the trenches in St. Louis, bro. Bro
yeah,
had me in the trenches. I guess his folks lived out there, so he's like, "Oh, you want to go with me somewhere?" I'm like, "Shit, let's go." And dude just had me riding around the churches and saying, "Hey, take me back to that base." Nigga. I don't got no burner on me, nothing. What are we doing, bro? Why are we in the trenches?
yeah,
Take me back to base,
yeah.
bro.
East St. Louis ain't nothing to play with.
Ain't no joke.
Yeah, East St. Louis is, man, listen. But anyways, so we had this training together. I think it was like a couple weeks or a month, and we didn't really talk that much. And we were going to the same duty station overseas in Germany. And so this was my second go around in Germany. So I kind of already knew how everything operated. I had my car already sent out there waiting for me. I had some people out there, and I knew how to move around out there. So once I got to Germany, day one, I'm on the go right away. And so when I get into the office and everything, then I see Chris again. I'm like, oh yeah, oh buddy, I almost forgot that we were even going to the same base. Then I'm like, oh yeah, I remember Buddy from the training. And even then, like the first couple of days, we still didn't really talk too much. It was just, just kind of simple stuff. And the office, the way how we had it set up, it was cubicles. So I'm kind of in the front, and Chris is like in the back. Mind you, it's like a three cubicle type thing where there's about 6 people per block. And so he's in the very back, I'm in the front. And then a little bit of time goes by, And then one day I hear bro like in the back asking people like, "Hey, excuse, like, can you take me to the post office? I got to go pick something up, right?" And I'm hearing him go from person to person, and they're like, "No, I can't right now. No, I got to do this, or I can't maybe later." Like they're just kind of like brushing bro off. So mind you, we're on the base. The post office on the base is no more than a 2 to 3 minute drive away. Like it's not even like you're going off the base. It's not like you got to go to the other side of town. It's literally by car 3 to 4 minutes away. If I don't even think maybe even not
The
even that.
crazy part is somebody is assigned to take care of you out there. Like
Yeah, yeah,
somebody is assigned to be like, "Hey, you got to drive this guy around." Because when you get to Europe, you obviously don't show up with a car, and you got to get a driver's license to like. So you got to get your post office set up. You got to get a driver's license. You got to take a driver test. You got to get orientation. I'm just trying to get around, and I don't even know who was supposed to be driving me around. They just left me out to dry. I'm like, hey, can somebody take me
yeah.
somewhere, bro? Like,
And
yeah,
so
yeah, I'm tripping.
yeah, so I heard him ask. It had to be like 3 or 4 people, right? And everyone's like, "Nah, nah." So I'm just like, "Damn, they making bro sound like he's begging now." So I'm like, "Hey, bro," "Hey, man." I'm like, "Hey, I got you." I'm like, "Hey, I got you. Come on." And so, mind you, out there, it's a weird Air Force Army battle going on already in the office. So it's like Air Force is sticking with Air Force, Army is sticking with Army, even though we're supposed to be working together. Anyone who's been in the military knows there's some weird Air Force Army thing that's going on. But I don't play into any of that, so I'm not even tripping that he's Army, whatever. I'm like, "Hey, bro, like, come on, man, I got you. I'll run you to the post office." So we run to the post office. He telling me where he's from, and we just kind of talking what you into, this, that, and the third, just simple talk. And then I just kind of tell him like, "Hey, bro, like, I've been out here before. Like, this is my second go." And I was like, most of the time people only do one or two things out here. They either go clubbing all the time or they travel a lot, and you can still do that. You know what I'm saying? While you're traveling. So I'm like, you can come kick it with me, or you can kick it with one of these dudes around here, and you'll probably just end up clubbing around this area the whole time. And so bro ended up kicking it with me, so we ended up kicking it a couple times. We went out a few times, and then once every weekend or every other weekend turned into like a daily thing. And then it's like now bro's living in the barracks. I got this big crib, so I'm like, "Hey, man, I got this whole house all to myself. Like, you might as well just move in with me. Like, you here pretty much every weekend. You know what I'm
Hey,
saying?"
hey, OJ, check this out. Hold on. So, like, me and him kicking it, right? But one
Mhm.
of the weekends, I was about to take a trip, right? I was about to go to Ibiza, right? And I'm
Mhm.
telling him because I remember him saying, "Oh yeah, I've been all around Europe like that, right?" I'm like, "Shit, what you think about Ibiza?" He's like, "It's cool out there, but like usually, people get excited about like things like Ibiza, like
Yeah. Mhm.
Miami, you know."
Yep.
Hold on, hold on, bro. Watch this, watch this. Hold on, watch this. Check this out. So I asked him about Ibiza because I'm about to go to Ibiza, right? I'm hyped. Look at this. I'm hyped. I'm about to be lit. I'm about to go wild out there. Hey, bro told me, he's going to Riga, Latvia. Hold on, look at this. Bro. Tell me he's going to Riga, Latvia. I said, this nigga tripping, bro. See, look, he about to go to Riga, and most of these pictures new. This probably wasn't even up in 2014. So
Nah,
I'm like, "Hey, you're tripping, bro." Like, what? He's
when
like, "Nah, bro." He's like, "Nah, bro. Just trust me. Just come with me, bro. Just trust me. Just trust me."
wait, what
I'm,
you before y'all, how like when you meet like a new friend and you like, okay, I need to hoop with him, I need to go out with him, and I need to travel with him. Did he were y'all like ever skeptical about each other, and like how is he like hooping? How is he like traveling with or like going
nah,
out
bro.
like, for the
Hey,
first
bro, seems like
time?
a real one to me, bro. Like all the stories, cause we have similar upbringings. You know what I mean? Like we
Hmm.
two dudes that come from nothing, come from broken pieces, broken families, and we just trying to find our way. You know what I mean? So we had like similar upbringing. So I just gave him the benefit of the doubt. Like, oh, and bro took me to the post office. So you know what I mean?
You good in my book.
You, that nigga's fuck. Bro took me to the post office. So it was like. smooth. So yeah, you're right. You gotta hoop with somebody, you gotta travel with somebody, and you gotta see them around women, right?
Yeah.
At this point, we ain't been around no girls together, and we ain't hooped together. So we just gonna start off with like a travel. We just gonna start off with traveling. So yeah, at this point, I'm like, man, I ain't see no like red flags or no signs of being, a FN. So I'm like, shit, bro might be straight, So like I was saying, I'm telling him like, hey, I'm about to go to Ibiza. Bro's like, nah, let's go to Riga, Latvia. I'm like, right here. I'm like, imagine if somebody's like, yo, I'm about to go to Miami this weekend. They're like, I'm about to go to Idaho.
Nah, facts. That's the same thing.
Yeah, he's like, okay, like, but he said he been here before, so like he been in Europe before, so let's try it out. Hey, we went to Latvia, bro, and that shit was dope. So that was our first time that we took a trip together. That shit was dope, man. We had so much fun, bro. He's still got a lot of those pictures. Like it was
Yeah.
fun, man. And it was like we were the only Americans out there and we were the only black folks out there. So like, bro, people would just walk up to us like, oh, can I talk to you like that? I'm like, damn, like you really feel like a superstar out there. It was crazy.
We weren't even there for 2 minutes, and we went on our first walk. Some lady seen us and sprinted across the street to come
Nah.
run up
Hey,
to us.
hey,
Like
you ran down on us, bro.
she
She
like
ran down on us. She had a little beard though.
Nah,
yeah.
that's crazy.
Hey, no, she was like, oh, you guys want to go to the beach? She's like, you guys want to go to the beach? You can go to the beach. We're like, nah, we just walking around. Like, man, that was crazy. So then when we end up going to the beach, we end up going like getting on the train and we're about to go to the beach, but there's like we don't. I think we didn't know which way to take the train or whatever. And there was this chick there, and she was just like if you think of like a supermodel from like Norway or Sweden, you know what I mean? Like blonde hair, tall, thin, like, and she was just chilling there. I'm like, shit, let's go ask her what she about to do. So,
I still got the picture of you putting her in the bag and carrying her in the
oh,
bag.
for real? Hey, man, we gotta bring some of these pictures up. So look, she's like, what? You guys are from America? I'm going to the beach. You can come hang out with me and my friends. So we like, all right, let's go. So, bro, we ended up just going on the train with her, going down to the beach, and she was like a medical student. So it was like her, three other girls, and then this dude, Trig. I know I'm still cool with this guy, and
Mhm.
they're all doctors now, man. That's what's crazy. This was like 10 years ago, but so we ended up just kicking it with them for a while. Went off, did our own thing. Like everything was cool, bro. We was just traveling, having a good ass time, and that was our first trip. And then from then it was like, yeah, we just locked in, like we just kicking it. And then like he said, he had a crazy crib out there, and I was in the dorms. I'm like, shit, let me just get a room over here. Let me get a room over here. Bro had a 4-story house, bro. Yeah, he had a 4-story house. I'm like, let me kick it over here for a minute. That shit was cool, man. So yeah, we was just locked in. Like we just when we get off work, we'll go do things like go to the lake and throw the football around. Like because bro, like in the summertime, the sun don't go down in Europe till like 11 o'clock. So you got all day to just do whatever. So sometimes we get off work like at 2, sometimes we get off work like 4, but the sun don't go down to 11. So we just outside doing stuff. And we had a good ass time out there, bro. And we would just take like weekend trips. Everything was smooth.
Yeah, we would take them trips, and then we eventually got into hooping, and then we eventually, like I said, got into a bunch of other stuff. But it's crazy because we only had 1 year together out there at that time period, and in that 1 year, we did more than I've done with some of my close friends that we've done in like 10 years. It's crazy. Like, even looking back on it now and still talking about a lot of the stories and going through a lot of pictures, it's crazy that that timeline was only for 1 year.
Nah, that's
And
crazy.
I think it's really what brought us as close as we are today. I truly believe like everything that we experienced together in that 1 year time frame is what kind of solidified like the brotherhood that we have now. And then
Yeah.
it's like after that, when he ended up moving back to California and getting out of the military, then I started going like meeting his family, meeting people that he was close with, people that he grew up with. And it's like everything that he was talking about, everything that I was talking about, everything just slowly started adding up. It's like, oh, okay, bro, Ben tell me that, about these people, or, this happens, with family and this and that. And it's like now I'm seeing, and it's like he's seeing like a different side of my life. So it's like Now it's like, oh man, we were talking about this. This happened. I was telling him about this. Now he got to see this. So it's like all these different connections and different things just started happening, and then it's like we just get closer and closer and closer, and then time just rolls on, and we just kept doing our thing. We just
Hey, OJ, you know how we first met and like as we was getting cool, like I'll tell you a story, and I know that the story sounds unbelievable. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I
Uh-huh.
know this, but he was in most of those stories, you know, and I know you was probably thinking like, this dude, yeah, because
The
bro, we
the
got.
funny the
Go
funny
ahead.
thing is, I didn't know till he just said that most of y'all stories happen in a 365-day span. I'm thinking like
Oh,
these are over like 3-4 years of your deployment out there. But to
no, no, no. Yeah, no. All them stories we was telling you. When I said we was into something every weekend, just doing stuff, bro, just moving and grooving. We was moving and grooving, bro.
yeah, every
So,
and
and it's
go
crazy
ahead.
because some of these stories they just sound unbelievable, and then like and then when you eventually meet them, and you be like, I just like, hey, ask him about that one story. Hey, ask him about this. I ain't even gonna say nothing. Ask him
yeah,
about this
he don't
one.
even finish the line. Ace will just jump in and finish the story, so you know it's not cap if they're on the
Yeah,
same like wavelength with the story. That should be funny. I ain't gonna lie. All the stories, but it's crazy that I didn't know that that was all in 1 year. Like to
yeah,
have
bro.
all of those stories in one was also some of your you guys in the US stories, were that all in the same year or was that like kind
Nah,
of okay.
that was over
Yeah,
years.
that was
Okay.
spread out. But yeah, the Germany stories, like just strictly off of that, was literally just that 1 year time frame. And like I said, it sounds to most, it just sounds unbelievable, unrealistic. But it's
Yeah,
like
we
when you got someone that can back up, like, hey, like not only can we both back it up, but I got pictures and videos, and man, I got
you. Hey,
documentation
you
of
want to know
it.
what's crazy? But while we're doing this, like you were like in school.
Yep,
I
happened.
started school like, bro. We're learning. Like we're learning. We're like in school, knocking out like online classes for college and stuff. We're wilding. We're partying. We're traveling. We're doing our job. You know what I mean? Like it's like somebody could keep up with you. You know what I mean? Like, hey, bro, because like when you got your party friends, all they want to do is party. Or
Yeah.
when you got your friends that are like locked into like finance and stuff, they don't want to have no fun. You know? And you like, man, like you meet somebody who can go like, they can keep up in every aspect. Like, all right, we could hoop if you want to hoop. We can take a trip. You want to take a trip? We could, you know what I mean? Do this. We can, hey, check this out. Learn about these stocks. Because even back then we were, into the stock market, and a lot of our views on finance were like spot on. You know what I mean? Like we had bread, we were getting bread, and we weren't blowing it. And the people tell them about the people like that we worked with, how they were spending all their bread and stuff, and we were younger. We were much younger than we are now. We like, nah, we ain't doing all that.
Yeah, like the whole office, bro. Literally, the whole office. Everybody had like the X series BMW started coming out, the 5 series. Everyone had 7 series. Everyone had the expensive Audis. Like no one had like a base level like a 1 series Beamer or a 3 series. Everyone had five or up. So mind you, everyone in there, their paycheck ranged from 50,000 to 80,000. It's like people got 80,000 to $100,000 vehicles. It's like, hey, what you're making versus what you're driving ain't adding up. And it's not even necessarily pocket watching because it plays into the next thing I'm gonna say. Every weekend when me and Chris would come in, everyone would just be like, "Well, where'd you guys go this weekend?" Because they
It
literally
was story time, bro.
they
Hey,
couldn't they couldn't
you know
go.
that Simpson meme where the grandpa's telling all the kids a
Yeah,
story?
they were like they was. So what country did you guys visit this weekend? Where did, because they always knew we went somewhere, and their story was the same. We stayed in the local area. They couldn't do anything because they were spending all their bread on their vehicle that was
Yeah,
just taking them from work to home, work to home.
yeah,
They didn't have
Yeah.
money to go. Me and him will talk about it, and then we'd be like, "Oh, bro, what stock are you looking at? What stock are you looking?" So then it's like, not only are we talking about what countries we're visiting, but then we're in the office talking about different stocks. This is when Alibaba was about to IPO, and Chris was like, "Yeah, I'm about to get in this company called Alibaba. They're this Chinese company, and people can get." He was like, "I'm like, what?" And they IPO for like what 94 or something like that. I remember like him
yeah.
like
And then it took a dump, and then it came back up.
crazy. I think it had reached like 300 and something. And I always look back and I'm like, damn, I remember bro was talking about like IPO and he was getting in this. And so I already had like a good, decent portfolio at this time, not even knowing anything really about the stock market. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't tell you anything about reading a chart. I couldn't tell you anything about reading a company's finances. I couldn't tell you anything about that. I just knew you needed to have money in the stock market. So I'm like, hey, let me just get, I know about Nike, I know about Coca-Cola, I know about Amazon, and I know like I just had literally 10 of the big power names at the time.
Look, check this out. Let me share my screen again. Because what I like to tell people is whether, and OJ, I tell you this a lot, like whether you take care of business or not, the time's going to pass.
Yeah, true.
Right? Like whether you're taking care of business or not, time's going to pass. Whether you're investing or not, assets are going to grow. So if you're like, oh yeah, I was in the market and then you stopped doing it for 4 or 5 years and you come back, you're going to realize everything got more expensive and your wealth could have been growing with it. The real estate market is going to get more expensive. Bitcoin's going to get more expensive. Stocks are going to get more expensive, whether you pay attention or not. The train doesn't wait for anybody. The economy has to expand. All the assets in the economy have to expand as well. All right. So look, bro is talking about, so this is 2014.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't even know if they'll let you go back 10 years. Hold on. So what's crazy is this is also we were catching Amazon, talking about Amazon back then too. Slide on your favorite song. Damn, they probably gonna make me sign in.
Yeah.
Go back 10 years.
All of them are gonna try to make me sign in.
Yeah.
Hold on.
But I'm pretty sure, what are you trying to look to see the highest it had got?
Oh, here we go. Look, here we go. Amazon, right?
Are you on
This is.
a different tab?
Oh yeah, let me show you. Show this tab instead. All right, so this is 2014. Me and him were talking about Amazon back then. At the time, this was before a few stock splits, so it would have been like $300 at the time. But now when you adjust it for the stock splits, like, come on, bro. Now think about it. Whether you're paying attention or not, it's gonna run from $10, $15, all the way up to $220. You know what I mean? So imagine just letting your money ride all the way up and do what it's supposed to do, you know? But what happens is people get distracted about all this stuff, man. But me and him, we're talking about stocks. We're looking things up on Yahoo Finance. Let's go here.
So who was it that kind of like brought that investing into you guys' like friendship? Like, because at first you guys go ahead.
I think we were both on it.
Yeah,
Okay.
we were both on it. Yeah, we were both on it. So we were both talking about the stock market, and then we started like comparing, like, oh, what are you in versus what I'm in? What are you looking at? And then there was one other guy that we had in the office. He actually caught a lick on GoPro at the time. But remember that? Remember he caught
Yep.
GoPro, I think at
Mhm.
like $2 and it ran to like 12 or something like that. But anyways, so we were talking about a lot of stuff in the office, but like I said, sometimes it would just be some BS, sometimes it would just be silliness, sometimes it would be stocks. And then he started talking about, hey bro, like I'm thinking about starting this watch business, right? And I'm like, oh word. I was like, man, I'm looking at getting into real estate. And he was like, oh word. And I'm like, yeah. So he started well, it's crazy because he had met this girl out there that was, what was she selling? She was selling something. He's like, man, I met this girl. She showed me.
Oh my God, bro. This is
That was
crazy.
kind
Hold
of
on.
that was kind of like his intro to it, right? Because I'm noticing like
Yeah.
he's starting to talk to me about different things. So he met this girl, and honestly, bro, I believe she plays a big role in the shift in the direction you went. Because once you were telling me about that, it's like a switch flipped in you, and then you started talking about I'm looking at watches, getting watches designed. I'm like, wait, what? I'm like,
Yeah.
what? And you're like, look,
Look, this is what's crazy. Let me tell you about this.
I still have the pictures from your first designs. I want to get that shit printed off,
Damn.
and yeah, I got to get that. I
Look,
have
OJ, let me.
everything. Like he was sending me, I got all the old text. He's like, bro, look, I'm thinking about doing this. Should I tweak this? When he's trying to come up with his logo, I'm like, oh yeah, that would be fire. And he's like, oh yeah, I want to change this. Dude, I'm like, oh yeah, 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 like yeah,
Hey,
like
think about it. We about to be 10 years old. 17 is about to be 10 years old.
That's
This
crazy.
is what I'm trying to tell people, like, hey, y'all, like, a lot of people that come and they think they're interested in building wealth or building companies or building like knowledge about this stuff because I want to live like you. I'm trying to get on like you. Like, hey, you don't really, bro. I've been doing this for a minute every day. You got what I'm saying? Like, it's the difference
Yeah.
between a rec league hooper and a pro. Like, they're gonna go do something every single day. The day you think
Yeah.
Kevin Durant don't feel like you think he feels like playing basketball every day? Like, no, you just turn that emotion off and you go play, you go hoop, you go train. So look, OJ, let
Hmm.
me tell you about this girl, bro. So I met up with this girl, and she told me that she needed to like package up some shoes or whatever to sell. And I'm like, oh, what do you mean? She's like, what she does is the most popular shoe style
Hmm.
that's in. She has this Chinese app where you can order them, but they're slightly different, right?
Yeah.
They're slightly different. And then she orders them to her house and then she sells them to people,
Like
right?
on the street or like online?
Like online, some app like Facebook Marketplace, like the equivalent of
Okay.
that. What's it called in Germany, bro? What's that?
It was called Buku, I think.
Yes, it was something like that, right?
Something
And
like
I'm
Hmm.
that.
like, what do you mean? So she's showing me, she's like, all right, you see how this is like the designer shoe, and this is the one I have, and this is slightly different. I'm like, okay, how much are you paying for them? She's telling me, I'm like, and then how much are you selling them for? So imagine she paying 15, 20 euros for a pair of shoes and selling for 200 because the real one's actually like 500, or
Yeah.
she's selling for 100 because the real one's like, and she just had boxes and boxes of these. And I'm like, okay, what's the website called? Like, yo, what's that website called? And it's like 2013, 2014. I'm like, yo, what's that website called? Bro, so I went back and told him about it, and I could not stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
Now, she's kind of like paranoid about this whole thing. Like, she don't want to get caught. She don't want to get in trouble, right? I'm like, bro, I can't stop thinking about this. So I'm telling him, he's like, oh, bro, what was that website called? I'm like, let me go figure out what it was called. So, bro, I text her. I said, hey, what was that? What's the name of that website that you showed me when we hung out and you were getting the shoes off of? She said, what shoes? I said, what? Oh, me, bro. She said, what shoes? The shoes you were showing me, like you was getting them, you was flipping them. She said, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm dead.
So
Hey,
I don't know what you're talking about.
she thought they was watching her phone off some $100 shoes. Hey, hey,
And
they
she
not worried about
right
you.
because she got paranoid, bro. She got, hey, it's funny because she's still my Facebook friend, bro. I need to put that combo. I need to put that DM up because I'm like, I remember, like, no, you act like you didn't show me the whole operation. Stop playing.
So how'd you end up finding it? Or you just
I
did
just
not even?
so what ended up happening is I just start Googling like how to design a watch, and then that led me to YouTube because some guy was showing people how to use Adobe Illustrator on YouTube, and he was like making like different like shapes with Adobe Illustrator. So I was just following him on Adobe Illustrator. I bought it Adobe Illustrator. I just started designing. So this was 2014. So I'm just designing. I make a design, throw it away, make a design, throw it away. And then eventually when I got decent at it, I start Googling how do you manufacture a watch. So then all the like German watch manufacturers popped up. So I would call them and then they would give me the runaround, or they tell me like, yeah, come meet me with me, but they're 4 hours away or they're 5 hours away. I'm like, man, what the hell? So eventually Alibaba popped up. And I'm like, this is the same company the stock was talking about. So then I started contacting people on Alibaba, and then, man, but let me tell you, the people that worked with me, they was hating, bro. They would tell me like, I would tell them about my watch idea. They'd be like, yeah, how you gonna ship them off? I'm like, I'm just gonna go to the post office. They would go look up the rules for the post office on base, and they'd be like,
Hey,
you know,
no, that's crazy.
they told me they're like, you can't use the post office on base to run a business, right? I'm like, hey, y'all professional
Nah,
haters.
it seemed like everybody in y'all unit did not want to see y'all winning
Nah, they
whatsoever.
wasn't trying to see niggas prosper, bro.
They one time at a squadron, so like everyone that's in our office, we would do like picnics and stuff, right?
Hmm.
And so one time we go to the picnic, me and him come in, bro. We're laughing. We just had a good. I don't even know what we did, but anytime we did something, we just literally just had the best time of our life. So, bro, we're coming like laughing, we're joking, we're probably like wrestling around or something. probably throwing the
We
football.
was throwing the football. Yep.
Get down, we get down to like where our squadron is at, and everyone's just looking at us, and I'm like, here we come, just laughing and giggling per usual. And come to find out, one his supervisor pulled our main supervisor to the side, and she said that she thinks that we came to that picnic high
And then we smell like weed.
and that we smell like weed. Bro, mind you, we're in the military, like we're in this special unit where we know they can test us at any given moment, and it like
Yeah.
turns big thing, bro. We're like, wait,
But
what?
look, this is the supervisor. Right when I got to my unit, bro, she was hating on me from the jump, bro. She was complaining about my hair. She was trying to tell me to get a haircut. My hair kind of looked like yours, OJ, and she was telling me to get a haircut. And I'm like,
Hmm.
no, this haircut is in the Army regulation. She's like, well, I don't like you need to get a haircut. I'm like, no, you know, like nigga, if this ain't violating the Army regulation, you're not about to tell me
Yeah.
to. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's crazy because that actually plays out in life, bro. Somebody will tell you something, or somebody will tell you something is true, or somebody will tell you to do something. It's on you to go look it up, right?
Yeah.
Because knowledge is like a defense system, right? So when somebody says, "Hey, you should do this, or you should look into this, or you should buy this, or you should invest in this," bro, go do the knowledge. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because what ends up happening is if you're right, you're gonna stand on what you're right about. I looked up
Hmm.
the regulation. I realized she's tripping, right? Bro would tell you he was there. Like I'm the
Yeah.
new guy. I'm going to bat against my own supervisor. Day one, I'm fucked. I'm not going, bro. I'm not getting a haircut. I'm not going. Like I'm not chopping my hair lower because how you know what I mean? Hey, here's the regulations. I go to the commander. I'm like, hey, she need to get on my back, bro. Ain't nothing wrong with my hair. Then she came with the whole y'all smell like weed thing. But anyway, that's how it plays out though. Like if you do the knowledge, bro, and you're like, I'm in the right, I'm not in the wrong, can't nobody bother you, you know?
Hmm.
And that goes on to like kind of like the Bitcoin knowledge too. Think about how many times you might talk to somebody about Bitcoin and then or you might even post about Bitcoin and people are in your comments telling you that you're wrong or this, and you're like, bro, when's the last time you read a book? Let's
Yeah.
start there. Like, when's the last time you read it? Like, you completed a book. I guarantee it was Dr. Seuss, like in the
Yeah.
90s. You know what I mean? Like, bro, you don't read, you don't understand how the whole ecosystem works. You can't tell me where money comes from. You can't even tell me what makes, like the dollar like spin up into like, I don't know, out of thin air. You
Hmm.
can't tell me how we got into this inflation problem. You can't tell me how we can get out of it. You can't tell me the difference between the equities and I don't know the bond market. Like you can't tell
Yeah.
me any of these things. All you know is I'm wrong about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like imagine some farmers who never watch sports come tell you you're wrong about basketball and you're a professional hooper or something. You're like, okay, bro,
That
or
that's
like
what be I was gonna say that's what be so crazy. Like people be ready to go to war behind you being wrong. And it's just like what research have you did? Like people
yeah,
just
what is this
have
based
time to
on,
argue.
bro?
Yeah.
It's like, bro, if somebody told me that Jupiter has four moons and people used to say they only had one moon, but they really have four moons, I'm not about to rebuttal back unless I go do
Yeah.
the research. If I don't do the research, I'll be like, oh, damn, that's crazy. And then maybe I'll care to look it up or not. Right. But if I haven't done any research, I'm not about to argue for the sake of arguing. Like, well,
Yeah.
actually, it has six moons and three rings. Like, bro, how do you know that? You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
and it's crazy, but that's how all of life works. And there's this quote by some like Greek philosopher or something, and it goes like, the opinion of 10,000 men means nothing uh if they haven't studied the subject, basically, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, think about it. If I say something and a bunch of people are disagreeing with me, but none of you niggas read books, I don't care. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and then what's crazy is Bitcoin's going to prove who's right and who's wrong. So if something went
Hmm.
from $0 to $100,000, and you've been saying it's not going to work since $4, you've been wrong this whole time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I see it.
So do you want to segue into your Bitcoin journey? Because I know that you were telling me that you went from a super very profitable trader and now you're just down this big Bitcoin rabbit hole. Do you want to like let the viewers know you're trading from trade big trader to big
Yeah.
Bitcoin now. So you want to give
And
that
real estate
story?
too, bro, has some
Oh yeah, real
multifamily.
estate. My bad. My
So,
bad. Real
so,
estate
so
too.
for me, I consider myself just a serial hustler, man. Like I've done it all. Like I've done it all. I've started businesses and brands. I've tried, drop shipping. I've sold on Amazon. I've done real estate, different versions of, trading options, selling options. I've tried a lot of different things out there, and some things I've been more successful at than others. But at least I've given myself the opportunity to see where the potential lays and where I can make my money stretch the best for me, right? Obviously, it looks different for everyone. So it's like I have money coming in from enough ways for me to really see where I need to put my focus at in it. And I had narrowed it down to real estate and stock options, right?
Hmm.
And when I had went down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, it slowly started to be okay, I need to move a good portion of my assets over to Bitcoin to I need to get out of everything and completely
Yeah.
move on to Bitcoin is kind of how it went. And so I want to say that leap happened very quickly. It was very gradually then suddenly, right? A little Parker A. Lewis shout out. But that's kind of how it went for me. And what led me down that rabbit hole was Chris. And so back in, I want to say maybe it was 2018 or so, me and Chris were rolling around somewhere, and he was selling, or he was selling brands to people. So he would create the brand, do the website, get the product, and he would sell it over to someone, and people were paying him in Bitcoin. And then he was like, bro, I'm going to just keep this Bitcoin to the side. I'm not going to touch it. Worst case scenario, this Bitcoin will go to 1 million. Or worst case scenario, it goes to 0. Best case scenario, it goes to 1 million. Either way, I don't need this money, so it's just gonna do whatever it does for me, right? So that was kind of like
Hmm.
my first time hearing anything kind of about Bitcoin outside of maybe just popping up in the news or whatever. But even then, I still wasn't paying it no mind. In 20, I forget the year. There was another year I heard when I had got to one of my duty stations, someone had retired off of Bitcoin. That was a second instance. And then the third instance was myself. I was trading Bitcoin. So I would buy in, hold for a little bit, make a little bit of profits, and then I would sell out. So I was literally just trading. And even still at that point, I didn't read a book. I didn't watch a documentary. I didn't go down any type of rabbit holes. I'm literally just hopping in and out. And then one day I'm out there in Houston with Chris, and he's like talking about these different challenges he had for his brother and somebody else. And he was like, yeah, I'm challenging them to just do this, and I'm gonna give them a Bitcoin. And then he was like, bro, he was like, man, he was like, this is the most important thing that you need to spend your time on. And I'm like, well, shit, where do I start? And he was like, start with this documentary called Hidden Secrets of Money. And I'm like, he's like, it's a 10-part series. And he's like, get back to me after you get done with it. So after we talk, after I leave from Houston, as soon as I get back to Vegas, the first thing I watch is part one. I'm hitting bro up. I'm like, man, this is crazy. He was like, yeah, just wait till you watch more. And I watched part two. I hit bro up. I'm like, this is like, I'm like, bro, I can't believe it. Like, what? Like, is this really what's going on? And then I finished the whole rest of the series, I think, in like maybe 4 or 5 days. It's a 10-part series. They're all about a little over an hour. And I couldn't sleep for like a month, right? I
Damn.
promise you, I couldn't stop thinking about this. I'm texting bro at 2, 3 in the morning, like, bro, is this really? I'm like, is this real life? I'm like, what? Like this was we're really living in? Like the thing that's so crazy about the hidden secrets of money is bro said it's gonna happen in the next decade. And then I go look at the timestamp. I'm like, oh, this is from 10 years ago. Like
Yeah.
what he said literally happened.
Everything played out. Everything played out.
Everything. It wasn't like he was guesstimating or this maybe happened. He said, no, this is going to happen in this next decade. There's going to be a
Yeah.
big war. There's going to be a big pandemic. There's going to be this. They're going to have to keep printing more money. The money printer is going to keep going. The assets are going to have to go. All these. I'm like, yo. And then that's when everything really hit me. I'm like, this is crazy. Like I felt like at that moment, I felt like I was too late. At that moment, I'm
Yeah.
like, too late. Like I'm too late. Like not even necessarily like just looking at the price, but it's like going back on the timeline. Then it's like Now that's sending me down a different rabbit hole, finding all these different economists and all these different people that have been talking about this for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And now that's when
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit, I'm like, we're fucked. Like, there's been people that have been screaming from the rooftop in the 50s, 60s, and 70s about what's going on, and people are turning a blind eye. You have people
Yeah.
trying to run for president, telling people about this. Like, this whole campaign was in the Fed, and like people were booing this man. People,
Yeah.
Ron Paul was telling people what was going on, and people were booing this man,
But
talking
he
about,
ran 3 times.
huh?
Did he run for president 3 times?
I don't know if it was 2 or 3 times, right? But it's
Hmm.
like, yo, I'm like, this man went up here, told everybody that, hey, these people are robbing you of your wealth and your time, and people were booing him. They were booing him off the stage, and I'm like, even more, I'm like, yo, we are even more fucked than I thought, because there's people that actually truly believe that we need this system that we're currently in. I'm like, then it just started sending me down all these crazy rabbit holes, and that's when I'm like, the laser eyes came on. I'm like, yo, I got to get out of this system by any means necessary. I don't care what I got. I don't care what returns I'm getting from this, that, and the third.
Yeah.
It was irrelevant because I'm getting those returns in a broken system. So it's like, that's what's keeping the blinders on to so many people. That's what's keeping so many people in that comfort zone, is because they think they're up. They think they're on top. Until those dominoes start crashing, that's when they're really gonna see, like,
Mhm.
nah, bro, you're not on top. You're just keeping up for what they're doing. Like, you're just keeping up. You're not getting ahead, and you're not on top. You think you're on top because some people are like, well, I have a house, I have a
Yeah.
car, pay my bills. So they look at it like they're good. Like, I got a good job. I'm making this, I'm making that. Like, I don't got no debt. I don't have no worries. But
Yo,
then
what about what?
when COVID happened, now look how that narrative switched very quick.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people's eyes really opened up to, like, no, you're not good. You're not as good
Hmm.
as you thought. And a lot of people took that hit, and it's like we're going through that same cycle again. Someone put it out the other day talking about the holidays, how they make us have to spend all these holidays to keep the system kind of going. And it's
Yep.
like, this system that we're in is keeping people trapped, and it's keeping people on this wheel that they don't even realize that they're on. It's like, Chris likes to use this analogy: people are running full speed in the wrong direction. Like, you're on this
Yeah.
treadmill, and you think you're going ham at a level 10 pace, and you're passing people, but it's like, bro, you're passing everybody running the wrong direction. Like, you
Yeah.
think you're wasting all your time and energy, you're gonna pass out while someone's just standing on one of them escalators that moves for you, going in the right direction. And it looks like they're not moving at all, but it's like, nah, they're moving, they're just slowly moving in the right direction.
What
Yeah.
what what led you to sell your rental properties for Bitcoin?
Well, a lot of people, I don't even want to lie and say that it was because I didn't want to deal with like tenants and all that stuff, because
Because you're a
I,
property manager,
I
right?
feel like I,
Who's
I feel like I really cracked the code with real estate. Like, I've had one of the coldest real estate stories. Like, you always hear about these horror stories about people, all these, like, for me, like, man, I've had a really good, and I've dabbled with different niches within real estate, because real estate has a lot of different niches. And it was a very interesting field to me, and it still is kind of interesting, but it's too much of a headache for nothing to pretty much keep up. So it's like, and then it's like, the further, like, at first it was the returns that I'm gonna get in Bitcoin for this money that I'm gonna get for real estate is not even gonna match up. That's what it was at first. But the
Hmm.
further down I've gone down this rabbit hole, the further I realized, like, no, being a landlord kind of makes you part of the problem. Because
Yeah.
is what happens is we think as landlords that we have to I'm providing somewhere good for you to live. I'm making sure I'm keeping maintenance up, you got somewhere to lay your head, and I'm cash flowing, because once I lock in my loan at this time, as time goes on, I'm able to raise rent. And as I'm able to raise rent, my principal and interest stays the same. And I'm calculating my taxes and insurance and all these things in it, so I'm able to turn a profit. But what that's doing is that's actually hurting my tenants. So it's like, as a landlord, you're a slave to the banks, who are a slave to the central banks, right? So it's like,
Hmm.
you're kind of their puppet master to control the people that are more so at your level. So people that are landlords see people that rent from them, they kind of feel like they're above them because they're renting from them, when you
Yeah.
don't really know what someone's situation is, right? They could be much
Yep.
more wealthy than you, they just so happen to rent from you. You would never even really truly know. But people kind of have this, like, oh, I'm a landlord, And I never really looked at it's a numbers game for me. I always looked at it as a
Yeah.
numbers game. Like, oh, this is what people do to get wealthy. I'm trying to get wealthy. This is what I need to do. But the further down I've gone down this rabbit hole, it's like, no, it's like I was contributing to the problem. Like I was that's a like, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a part of anything to where it's me having to step on the next man to try to get myself ahead. I never did that in my military career. I never did that in my life, but it's like we don't see it that way. But when you kind of step back and look at what's really happening, that's kind of what it is to me. And I don't want to be a part of any of that anymore.
But what would you say to people who are like, hey, bro, I don't really care about all that. I'm just trying to make more money. Should I sell my rental property or not?
I would tell them sell it. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I
because
mean,
that's how.
you know,
Hey, that's how I see it. I say, hey, look, if you're trying to put numbers on a scoreboard, Bitcoin. If you're trying
yeah,
to save the world, Bitcoin.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like either way it go, you trying to, you trying to score.
Right, exactly. And then it's like,
Yeah.
even if you look at it in the Bitcoin comparison, and they have these tools out there. It's like 8 years ago, for the average house in America, it would cost you 233 Bitcoin. 4 years ago, the average house in the United States, it would have cost you 60 Bitcoin. Today, the average house in America is only going to cost you 3 or 4 Bitcoin. So, in terms of Bitcoin, real estate is going down against Bitcoin. And real estate is only keeping up with inflation. So people think that they're up because their home value is up, but it also raises everything else. Your insurance goes up,
Yeah.
your property taxes go up. All these things keep going up with it. You don't truly own your home. Even if you pay it off, you don't fully own it. Because the
Yeah.
moment you don't that, even if you don't, a lot of people don't know this, and Chris had to go through this, and this is something that I learned through his experience, is that the HOA can take your property. If they send you some type of fee and you don't cover that fee, they can force you to force sell. They can't reap the difference, right? So if you pay 500,000, you sell your house for 800,000. They don't get the 300,000. They get whatever it is that's owed to them, and then they cut you the check for the rest. That almost happened to Chris recently. Like, how crazy is that? The HOA,
And it was over a fee that was like less than $200.
yeah,
That's
like,
So what?
crazy.
Now
That's
look, let me tell
crazy.
you. I know it almost makes it feel like it's done purposefully. All right, so
Yeah.
at my Las Vegas house, there's two different HOA fees. There's the monthly fee and the quarterly fee, right?
Hmm.
So the monthly fee just comes out auto pay, right? The quarterly fee, I assume, came out automatically too, but I guess it wasn't. So I'm paying this monthly HOA fee, and I'm not realizing there's a separate quarterly fee, right? So some time goes by, and they're like, I get a paper in the mail. They're like, you're behind on your quarterly fee, like six payments or whatever, and the payments like actually it was like $450 or something like that. And they were like, if it's not paid by this, then you're gonna be forced to sell your home or whatever. And
That's
I'm like,
wild.
we're not talking about property taxes. We're not talking about your mortgage. We're talking about an HOA, the second HOA fee. But anyways, but let me tell you why I think that was crazy. The reason why I think it was crazy is because you can't put that on auto pay. You can't pay with a credit card, and you can't have it auto drafted from your account. And you're like, if this is going to the same organization, why is it that I can't either pay it together or pay the same method? Like, why are you giving
Yeah.
me people, maybe that's a conspiracy theorist in me, but I'm like, hey, why y'all making this shit hard? You know what I mean? Like, if that'd be like if the Wealth Squad charged you twice,
Yeah.
but you got to pay the other one by bringing me the money in person. And if you don't, we take all your stock portfolio. You'd be like, that's kind of weird in a way,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
And it's even crazy that people will buy their home in cash or eventually over 30 years pay off their home, and they're like, yeah, I own, the only thing I have to my name is my house. And like, from you guys' stories, is just like, you really don't own your home, because if you're behind on your HOA fees, or if you don't pay your property taxes, then they'll come take your house. But it's even that with a lot of almost everything, for real, except Bitcoin. Because if you own your Bitcoin, you store it yourself. It doesn't matter if you get in trouble with the police, or you get anything that happens to you, you still have your Bitcoin because you have those keys. So I think it's just important for people to realize that things
It's
that you think that,
unconfiscatable wealth. Yeah.
yeah, like things that you think that you own, you really don't own them.
You guys see in the UK that they arrested people, or they putting people in prison for their social media posts? Like, imagine you say the wrong thing and
Yeah,
boom, now you're in prison. You can't even call it the wrong thing. You just say something that other people don't like.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You end up in prison. You're like, hey, this is crazy. They're cracking down on free speech. But wait, let me what I wanted to do is when Ace was talking about how your home is getting cheaper in Bitcoin, I want to show you guys something, right? So let's go here. Priced in Bitcoin 21. Okay, so here we go. Here's the United States median new house. So in January of 2012, right at the peak, Bitcoin would have cost you a house would have cost you 64,000 Bitcoin,
Hmm.
right? It would have took 64,000 Bitcoin to buy a house, right? And now we're gonna go 5 years after that. It costs 664 Bitcoin, and then you go to January 2018, it costs you 24 Bitcoin. You go to 2020, 35 Bitcoin. You go to today, the median cost of a house is 4.5 Bitcoin, right? So if you price this in Bitcoin, it's going down. If you price it in dollars, it's going up. Now, when I say that, I want you guys to imagine this. Imagine somebody discovered Bitcoin here and even just in 2020,
Hmm.
right? They just discovered Bitcoin in September 2020, right? So we'll say, or even before this, we'll say February. Let's say the cost of a Bitcoin was $10,000 February 2020, right? So you're like, all right, I'm going to take my 10,000, I'm going to take my 10,000 or my $100,000 and I'm going to buy 10 Bitcoin, right? So I got 100K, which is 10 Bitcoin, and I'm just going to hold it until I can buy a house, right? And then
Hmm.
the next person keeps their 100,000 in cash, right? And now, as time goes on, 5 years later, you can actually afford two houses now,
Yeah,
right? So four and a half times two is nine, right? So that 100,000 that couldn't even buy you a house originally, right, can now buy you two houses. Now, the
hmm,
person that kept their money in cash, that not only are they not able to buy a house, the cost to buy a house ran away from them,
yeah.
right? So it used to be what this would have been 333K. So you would have had nearly a third amount of the money to buy a Bitcoin, I mean to buy a house. But now, because the price of a house went up in dollars, it's 450K. Now you're four and a half times away, right? Now it's 4.5 times the amount you had, and it used to be 3.3 times the amount you had, right? So you went from being 33% of the way there to being 25% of the way there. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
the house is running away from you if you're storing in dollars. If you're storing in Bitcoin, you went from, hey, I can't buy a house right now, but now I can buy two and a half houses. You know, so Bitcoin's just making things cheaper if you're saving in Bitcoin.
yeah. So in episode 2 how we went over the properties of a good money. So what is it? I think the viewers now would want to understand. So what is it about Bitcoin's properties that make it a good money to fit the example of, okay, things are getting cheaper when priced in Bitcoin. So what about Bitcoin makes it a good money?
So it starts okay. So there's Bitcoin the asset and there's Bitcoin the network, right? So that's kind of be the key thing about today's episode. There's Bitcoin the asset and there's Bitcoin the network, right? So when we're talking about Bitcoin the asset, if you're saying I'm going to save in Bitcoin because I want to be able to afford more things in the future, that's talking about Bitcoin the asset, right? So one of the main things about Bitcoin the asset that is going to cause it to grow is the scarcity of it, right?
Mhm.
So if you're exchanging your hard-earned money for something, right? Since you gave up your time, which is the most precious thing that you have. If you swap your time, which is the most precious thing you have, for something, that thing also needs to be scarce. Your time is
Yeah.
scarce, that thing needs to be scarce, right? Would you swap your time for a blade of grass or for sand? You get what I'm saying? No, because those things aren't scarce. Anybody can make them. Would you swap your time for gold? Gold's a lot more scarce. So the exchange makes sense. Now, Bitcoin is the most scarce form of money we've ever had,
Yep.
right? So even with gold, you can make more or you can mine more gold every year. That's where the whole 2% inflation came from, because that was about how much gold we can dig out of the ground every year. But now that our money is not tied to gold, it doesn't matter how much gold we can dig out of the ground every year because our money's not tied to gold. So, anyways, so you have something that's scarce, right? So there's only going to be 21 million. It's almost like if you were to say, hey, there's only going to be 100 Lamborghinis.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to say, well, I'm going to buy one to store my value there. So
Mm-hmm.
imagine if you buy a Lamborghini because there's only going to be 100 of them. And then as soon as you buy it, a Lamborghini makes another 100,
Yep.
right? Then the value of yours is not so scarce anymore. So the value of that Lamborghini is going to fall, right?
You know.
So you're going to eventually realize, like, I'm not trying to store my money in this thing because it's going to lose its value as they keep making more Lamborghinis. The value of your dollar is going to fall because they keep making more of them. Bitcoin
Mhm.
becomes more scarce as more people want it and you can't make any more of it, right? So if you have
Yeah.
a neighborhood in a very prestigious location, let's say like somewhere in like Beverly Hills, California, and there's a neighborhood with 50 houses
Mm-hmm.
and they say, yo, these house one, we're never going to make any more houses, and then two, some of these neighbors are never going to sell. What's going to
Yeah.
happen is there's going to become a bid for those houses, right? And then every time that there's a neighbor that says, hey, I'm never selling my house, they're cutting the supply down, right? So you know, like, oh, I used to be able to buy one of 50 houses. Now I only have 47 to choose from. Now I only have 30 to choose from. So as people buy their Bitcoin and take self custody, especially the long term holders who aren't going to sell, not only is there a limited amount of Bitcoin, but the amount of people who are willing to give up their Bitcoin for your dollar or for your euro or for your fiat currency is shrinking time and time
Yeah.
again.
And I also wanted to add, and I'm sure Ace, you will understand this analogy I'm about to make, but back 10, maybe even 8, 5 years ago with certain shoes like Jordans and um, Adidas, whatever, they used to be so expensive. Like a lot of people would store a lot of their wealth in their shoes because, okay, Jordan, they're only releasing 1,000 pairs, right? And then the price would be set at a very high price, and everybody would be in a bidding war for these shoes because the value of the shoes is coming for how scarce they are. And let's say years later now these same shoes aren't worth the same because at any given moment Jordan can just come together and be like, okay, well, a lot of people like those shoes, we're trying to make money, we're just going to make we're gonna do a 20,000 release of these shoes. So if you had been storing your a lot of your wealth in these shoes that Jordan tells you that, okay, we're never gonna make another um, rerun of these shoes, and then years later down the line they just make another rerun, then now the shoe prices cut down 80%, and that's when Chris was saying that Bitcoin is the most scarce asset that we ever seen because it's wired into the code that there's 21 million Bitcoin. So it doesn't matter if me, Chris, or Ace want 22 million Bitcoin. It's wired set in the code that there's only 21 million Bitcoin and there's nothing anybody can do about that. We all know there's 21 million coins with gold. None of us know how much gold there's really out there in the world. They're always finding new big pockets, tons and tons of gold. So I just think people need to realize a lot of the things that you think are scarce is just a false sense of scarcity.
Yep.
It's a fact.
Hey, Ace, let's talk about the network of Bitcoin. So, can you explain the difference between the asset Bitcoin, the network Bitcoin, and then what are some of the components that make up the network of Bitcoin?
Yeah, so just to kind of, you already kind of covered some of what the asset is, right? But just to talk a little bit more on Bitcoin, the asset, not only the fact that it's scarce, but the simple fact that everybody around the world has access to this network. I think that's the beauty of the thing. And as a person who travels internationally quite frequently, I've always wondered, like, why can I not just bring this to wherever I'm at? Like, why do I have to find an exchange rate? Why do I have to try to go to an ATM? If I have this and they already know in their system that, hey, in your currency it's worth this, but you can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of places that you can't go. It doesn't matter that the dollar is widely accepted. There's a lot of places you can go. You try to give them them dollars, they'll look at you like you're crazy. Like, what you think? So it's like that's one of the most beautiful things of this, and it's not talked about enough. I think people are starting to kind of get that. Okay, it's capped at 21 million. Nobody can manipulate that. But a lot of people don't talk about how this is freedom money for a lot of people around the world. I want to say they say something like 60 to 70% of the world is unbanked. And I know a lot of people that are going to be watching this are American, and it's like one thing I always tell Chris, I feel like people that understand Bitcoin quickly are people who have traveled and been to a lot of these other countries that see how fucked up things are in these other countries. Like, there's a lot of countries where it's like people can't even keep their money in the bank because their governments are so corrupt that they could just be like, okay, the banks aren't going to open today. Or look at what happened to everyone that was in Canada when they were peacefully protesting. They shut their bank accounts down. Or now, like Christian said,
Yep.
people over the UK, you're getting locked up for freedom of speech, just saying you don't agree with something that the government is doing, whether if they're treating people wrong, no matter if everyone agrees with it or what. So that's one of the beautiful things of the asset is everyone has access around the world to be able to store their hard-earned time, what they get for their time. They're able to store that currency into this, and it's able to, expand their purchasing power. And that's what it really comes down to. So not only is it scarce with 21 million, everyone around the world has access to it, whether if you're buying goods, whether if you're selling goods, whether if you're using it as a store of value. You don't need anyone's permission. Nobody can take it from you, and you can send it to anyone around the world at any given moment, and it doesn't never shut off. It doesn't matter if it's a holiday. It doesn't matter what's going on in the world. It could be COVID and the planes could be shut down. If you need to send, Chris is over where he's at right now. If he needs some bread for whatever reason, he's like, hey bro, I need you to, shoot me this. It doesn't matter where he's at in the world. He could be underground in a tunnel in Timbuktu. And if he needs some, anyone can get that. And I think that's one of the beautiful things of Bitcoin, the asset, right? On top of the other things that Chris talked about.
Oh, I want to add on to that. So access to the network is very, 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 very important, right? So think about somebody, let's say you live in like Kyrgyzstan or something, right? And you don't trust your government, or you don't have access. You can't sign up for a Robinhood account. So you can't store your family's wealth into Apple stocks.
Right, facts, yeah.
Right? You can't store your family's wealth in Apple stocks, or the woman that lives in Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What's she gonna do? Invest in the S&P 500? She can't.
Yeah.
You gonna buy some real estate in New York? You can't.
You can't do that. And that's the part that a lot of people don't see, is that this is not just an American thing. This is not just for Americans. This is for people around the world who don't have access to be able to trade stocks. This is for people that don't have access to be able to invest in real estate, or be able to start this startup or this, because they're somewhere where the government is in so much control that they just don't have access. But it's like governments don't have control of this. Governments can't. They can try to stop it. They've tried to stop it, but they can't. So that's one of the beautiful things of Bitcoin, the asset. As far as Bitcoin, the network, that's a whole different beauty of what kind of puts this together, right? What I was telling OJ, it's kind of like a PB&J. You need the peanut butter, you need the bread in order to have a complete PB&J. And the beautiful thing about Bitcoin, the asset, and Bitcoin, the network, is they go hand in hand. And the good thing about the network side of things is that one of the main things is on this blockchain technology. So the way I like to try to explain the blockchain technology to people is look at it as a public ledger, right? A ledger meaning a record that we keep. So imagine everyone has this piece of paper, right? OJ has a paper, I have this paper, Chris has this paper, everybody watching, we all have this piece of paper, and we'll call this the ledger. Anytime that I want to send, or OJ wants to send, or Chris or whoever wants to send, this ledger automatically gets updated to where everyone can go and verify these transactions that are happening, right? That's kind of what the blockchain is. It's a public ledger that people can go and verify all the transactions that are happening within the Bitcoin network. Another part of that is people have what's called a node. A node is a computer that people can go and verify these transactions that are happening. These nodes are talking to each other, and they're communicating with each other, and they're verifying all these transactions to make sure that as a consensus, we all can say, yep, my node matches up with your node, with this transaction, with this node, with this node. All the nodes are talking to each other, making sure that the network is staying pure, staying true, that no one is coming, trying to manipulate, trying to add an extra transaction, trying to do what's called a double spend. So it's like if I try to send OJ something and then try to turn around and send Chris the same amount, the nodes are what's blocking that from being able to happen. So people
So
can't go ahead.
so think about so or explain this. So what exactly is a node and who could run one?
So anyone can run a node. So I personally, I bought one. You can buy pre-made nodes. You can use just your regular computer and you can go download what's called Bitcoin Core, which gives you access to be able to see all the transactions that happen from day one up until where we're at right now. So my node that I have, it's a small, looks like a little hard drive and it's hooked up to the network. I downloaded Bitcoin Core. It took about a day for the whole network to get downloaded onto my onto mine. And then now from that moment forward, every time there's a transaction, it's just in sync. I'm able to go in and check and verify to make sure that it's up to date with all the transactions. And my node is able to verify and see all the transactions that's happened on the network. Anyone can do that and they can do that free of cost. It doesn't cost anyone anything. You just got to have a computer, you got to have internet access, and you can get your node up and running today, tomorrow after you download Bitcoin Core, and it shows you all the transactions that have previously happened and that are happening right now in the moment.
So do you want
So
to? I
go
was
ahead,
gonna.
OJ.
I was gonna say, do you want to explain to the viewers how Bitcoin, how multiple nodes spread across the world? Because there's nodes in all across the world. Do you want to explain to the viewers how that helps Bitcoin security with how Bitcoin's ran on a consensus system, as you were
Yeah.
explaining? Do you
Yep.
want to
Yep.
explain how
So
that
right
helps
now
it security?
there's about 21,000 active reachable nodes right now that are up and running. So all we need to keep the Bitcoin system running is one node up and running. So imagine everyone always talks about, well, what if the internet goes out? Well, if the internet goes out for the world, it happens for everybody. So that means all you people that have online banking and do everything, and we do everything on our phone. So if the internet goes down, people like to just compare Bitcoin with the internet like everything else isn't ran on the internet, right? So if the
Yeah.
goes down worldwide, we're all fucked as a whole anyways, right? But the moment that the internet comes back on and one node reaches the network, it picks right back up where it left off. So if everything shut down at once, it shuts down. And then when the system comes back up, once one node is up and running, we have the entire network right there. So I think that's a key part that a lot of people don't know and don't understand. And I don't know why people like to compare, oh, if the internet goes down, then you can't access this, but we have bigger problems. And same thing with quantum computing. People were like, "Oh, but quantum computers can go and crack codes. If it can crack your, if it can crack whatever your hardware, your seed phrase is, your bank account can be cracked. Your
Yeah.
all these companies have the same issue. So it's like people have to worry about these issues. But anyway, so the nodes, like I said, it keeps the network pure because everyone that's running their node, you get your own vote. So if someone wants to change something that's happening within the network, all the nodes come together and they can vote collectively if they want to do this update or if they don't want to do this update. So it's giving you self-sovereignty, allowing you to actually have a voice. Right now, we have no voice in nothing that we do. So by you running your own node, you can run your own transaction. So let's say, OJ, if I want to send you some money, I go on my phone, I have everything connected through my node. When I send you that transaction, it's running through my node and it's getting updated. And I'm completely self-sovereign by running my own node. And I recommend everyone run the node. There's websites that we can go and see. There's nodes up and running all around the world. This is
Yeah.
a global system
So
that
yeah,
anyone can access. Anyone has access to be able to do this.
this is how many nodes, reachable Bitcoin nodes, that are live right now.
Should be like
So
21,000, something like that.
so you see, there's people in Brazil that run nodes. There's people in Canada that run nodes, right? So they're all keeping a copy of the entire Bitcoin blockchain,
Yep.
right?
And
People in Russia run nodes. People in China run nodes, right?
and
Pakistan, India, they're just
it,
spread.
yeah, it gives you a voice. You have this Bitcoin is leading people towards self-sovereignty completely.
Yeah. So man, that's actually dope to see the. Let me see if I can find another map.
There's another one. Go to that top one is a good one, or that second one right there. The second one, that's a good one right there. So that one breaks it down by it shows you who's leading in what country, and that's a really good one right here. I like this website.
Man.
And it's dope
Yeah.
because most of the nodes are on Tor network. I believe it's like 63% of active reachable nodes are on the Tor network. And I highly recommend people look further into Tor. That's another thing that Bitcoin led me on, was diving deeper into understanding what Tor was. I had heard about it, never really fully understood it, but it's like everything Bitcoin is leading people towards self-sovereignty, because it's
Mhm.
like, man, the more and more you look at this stuff, the less privacy we really have. And it's like, it's a nasty game that we're playing. And it's like,
Yeah, and you guys, like, I want you to think about this in like a practical sense, right? So imagine that, let's say, I don't know, let's say one of you guys out there watching this support Black Lives Matter, for example, and then the government says, well, we don't like Black Lives Matter, and you're like, well, whatever, I don't really care, I'm going to support it, and actually, I want to send some Bitcoin to, some of the protesters.
mhm,
And then imagine it, but if this was a bank account, they could stop it. That's what they did with the truckers,
mhm,
right? They
Mhm.
protested COVID-19. They seized all the bank accounts of the protesters, and then they tried to, and then what ended up happening is the donators end up sending Bitcoin, right? But imagine you're like, oh, I seen you at this Black Lives Matter protest, so I'm going to freeze your Cash App, freeze your bank account, freeze those things. So when he says self-sovereignty, that means self-sovereignty. That means that nobody's in control of you, right? So the reason why people will be able to send a transaction from here to there, no matter who they're sending it to, no matter what they represent, no matter where they're at, is because there's people that keep the network itself up and running,
Mhm.
right? So half the people are just like, hey, I'm buying this thing and I want it to go up. And then there's the behind the scenes thing that makes this, the strongest network, the most unhackable network like that humans have ever seen. And it's just a beautiful system. So that's the node part. Now let's move on to the next part. Let's talk about miners.
for the miners. And as I'm talking about this, I want you to go to, hold on, let me bring this website up so people can get a visual. You know, I'm a visual guy. Go to timechainstats.com for me, please. All right. So the miners, and another thing too that I didn't necessarily skip over but didn't talk about is all this stuff is open source. So anyone can go in
What
and
does
verify.
open source mean, bro?
Open source means that anyone can go in and check the code and they can verify for themselves that what this thing is saying that it's supposed to do is actually doing that. So if any of you guys are out there that are like me, I'm actually learning how to be able to read code because I personally don't know how to do it. And it's like, that's another thing that I love about this is this exposing me to more knowledge and things that I never even would have even thought about doing. So right now I'm going down that rabbit hole of learning how to be able to read code myself because I want to be able to go in and read Bitcoin code. And then I do a lot of stuff that's decentralized. Now that I'm on Nostr and I'm learning more about more things that are decentralized, I want to be able to go verify stuff. So it's like, I don't want to just trust other people's knowledge. I want to be able to do those things for myself. So it's like everything that I can to make myself better in this Bitcoin space, running my own node, running miners, being able to read code, checking to see what devs are doing as far as doing updates and all these things. It's like this is my wealth that we're talking about. So it's like if your wealth is involved, I can't speak for other people, but I want to be able to have as full control, and I also want to know what's going on behind the scenes. I don't want to just buy this thing because I think number goes up. Like
Yeah.
I'm fully like mixed into this. Like I want to know how everything works, even if I can't completely understand every single part of it. I at least want to be able to know, okay, all right, I can get better at doing this. I can learn this, and there's a lot of good resources. This space really has brought out some of the best people behind the scenes that we probably never seen and never heard of. Me and Chris were talking about this earlier. It's like people like Jeff Booth. I'm sure a lot of people already knew him, but it's like I probably would have never even heard of a guy like Jeff Booth. It's like now I get
Yeah.
to in my
Same.
free time, in my free time, I get to kick back and listen to this dude speak to multi-billionaires and millionaires
Mhm.
and like just listen to this guy's brain for free. Like we have access to these brilliant minds that they've written books. People are they're speaking, and it's like Jeff Booth doesn't have to go to these events and speak at these events and try to convince people. He's the type of person where it's like, I'm sure his net worth is so great and life is so good for him. All he needs to do is buy Bitcoin and he can stay out the way. It's the same thing like us doing this podcast and everyone else is doing this. Like, these people don't have to do this. We're not gaining anything from this, but trying to help people and try to spread the word and let people know, like, hey, we stumbled onto this great thing that someone gifted us, Satoshi Nakamoto. Like, whoever he is, whoever they are, whoever she is, whatever it is, they blessed us with this. And people choose to look the other way or look to try to find the next best thing without even taking the time to research what this thing even is. It's like,
Yeah.
people feel like they missed out on this, and they're like, well, I missed out on that, so let me not even take the time to even go see what it is. I'm just gonna try to get on this next thing that can 100x me, or you know what I'm saying? It's like, man, it's
Yeah.
crazy. But
Would you
not
want to? Would you want to show on time change
oh,
that?
okay. So go on Bitcoin price hash rate. Just go to like 30 days or something like that, because the chart is kind of far out. You can go to either 30 days or a year or whatever.
Wait, what did you say? Go to where?
The middle one where it says 3 years on the Bitcoin price and hash rate, there's a drop down box. You can do maybe like a year. I mean, I guess you can keep it up right there. It doesn't matter.
Where the hell you see that at?
Right there,
In the
the
middle.
middle top.
Bitcoin price, yeah.
Oh, and go where?
Yeah, right there. Just click like maybe a year or something. I mean, you can leave it on 3 years. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
There we go. All right. So the next part of the network is the mining side of the network. Okay. So miners are also little computers. And I like to explain this to people. Like, imagine a computer trying to crack this cryptographic code, right? And then you could also bring up mempool.space so we can look, because we need to look at both of these. And so these computers that are cracking this cryptographic code to mine these blocks that are on the blockchain. So back to how we were talking about the blockchain technology, how it's this open ledger that everyone go in and verify all these blocks. So the purple blocks are transactions that were already verified. And it shows which miners on there solved the puzzle for that block. And there's a reward for each block. Each reward is cut in half every 4 years during the Bitcoin halving, which we just had a halving back in April.
Let's open up a block.
Yeah, let's open up a block. And so the green ones are blocks that are next. So where that dashed line was at, to the left of that dashed line is the next block for all those transactions in that block. The miners are working right now to crack the code to mine that specific block. And so once a miner cracks that block, it gets a reward, right? All the fees that are in that block for people that want to put their transactions.
Reward.
And then they also get the 3.125 reward for, that's what they get. So that's the total amount that they would get right now. So these little computer miners, and now they're making it to where people can run miners at their house. I have a couple of them by BitAxe, and they have different heaters that you can hook up and mine. There's different nation states that are using their different power sources, whether it be dams, whether it be wind power, volcanoes in some countries are able to use that energy, and they're able to mine Bitcoin. They're able to contribute to this network. And so one of the cool things about the miners is that they also are talking to each other, and they're verifying this block. And when a miner solves the block, the next thing that I like to talk about is the proof of work aspect, how it all kind of ties together. So it's back to that peanut butter jelly analogy.
Wait, hold on. Let me run through this real quick. So all these ones in purple, like he said, are the blocks that have already been mined, and then the blocks in green are the ones to be mined, right? So imagine gold is stuck in the ground, and you need picks and shovels and strainers and everything, and you need to dig it out of the ground. Well, these Bitcoin blocks are stuck in the future. You see, this is 10 minutes from now, 20 minutes from now, 30 minutes from now, right? So these blocks are coming in the future. We have to mine Bitcoin from the future, right? So like he said, everyone's trying to compete to solve this puzzle. And if you solve the puzzle, you get the subsidy and the fee right here, right? So you have all these people using this computational power trying to compete for this 300K plus that 7K, right? So when someone asks, can you just make Bitcoin out of nowhere? No, Bitcoin needs to be mined. And in order to mine it, you need miners, you need computers, blah, 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 you need electricity. But look, it's stuck in the future. So you can't just snap your fingers and make more Bitcoin if you wanted to. It's going to take, these are going to come in 10 minutes. These are going to come in 10 minutes. So this block right here that says there's 3,473 transactions. So if I send Bitcoin to OJ and OJ sends Bitcoin to Ace, that's two separate transactions. So all these transactions get put on a ledger and then that gets uploaded. So these are all the transactions here. So you can go and look at all the transactions that were in this block. So if you really think about it, this is just like a open source of history,
Yeah.
right? This address sent Bitcoin to this address. How much? Very little Bitcoin, but they sent some, right? Some people sent a lot, some people sent a little, but it's like everybody is verifying that this happened. Now, the next part is if you were to think about it like this, if I send OJ an email, we both have the email.
Hmm.
If I send Ace a song, we both have the song, right? The problem of double spend needed to be solved, which means I send OJ an email or a PDF and I no longer have it. Only he has it. And if you can solve that, you can create internet money. And that's kind of the beauty of this whole network is like, man, a lot of very smart people put their hands together to develop this protocol. But go ahead, Ace, go where you want me to go now?
And before we keep going on, and it's crazy because there are people already had this baby. Like this Bitcoin was created from so many things happening. They just couldn't solve that double spin problem. And that's the beauty of the blockchain and the proof of work concept. The proof of work is what's stopping people from being able to double spin. Once a
Yeah.
block is mined, nobody can go back in there and change any of those transactions that have happened. And so that's one of the beauties of the blockchain, the miners, and and
Do
Yep.
everything
you
else. So
do you also want to tell the viewers about the processing power, like the hash rate as well,
yeah,
like
so
how
that's what's making the network secure. So if you go back to the other link, Chris,
Let's go to here.
so right there, that chart that's in the middle, and this is only on a year timeline, but when he first went on there, it was showing 3 years, and you see that that gold line is the hash power, and the green line is the Bitcoin price, and you will see some correlation, especially when you go out into and when you look at a wider timeline, you see the correlation to how the price and the hash rate kind of play off of each other. And as that continues to go up and to the right, that means the network is getting stronger. That means there's more miners out there. There's more computer power being put into the network, which is making the network stronger. So that's what we want to see. We want to see this Bitcoin hash rate, the gold. We want to see that continue to keep going up. That means the network is continually getting stronger because that means there's more miners out there trying to solve a block. The more miners that we have out there trying to solve a block, makes it harder for one entity to gain full control over just mining a block. So go back to mempool.space. Go back up to where we can see the blocks that were mined. Every block you can see at the bottom, you see one of them says Foundry USA, SEC pool, Ant pool, Ant pool. The more people that we have mining, the less we want to see of the same entities mining blocks, because we don't want one set entity to have complete control over the network, over being able to mine every single block. So that helps keep the network very secure. So as we see that hash rate going up, that lets us know, hey, there's more miners on the network. There's more people contributing to the security of the network. And that's how the miners play their big role in this whole
Oh,
play.
I got something to share here. So you guys
Mm.
see all these different mining pools that are mining this. So imagine if all of these mining pools hypothetically are like American, right? And then the Russians realize like, hey, we don't want we don't want it to be possible that anybody tampers with us being able to make transactions. So we need to get miners as well, and we need to get Bitcoin as well. And we need to get nodes as well, because it eventually becomes a form of defense. You want the ability to send your own money, right? So think about, for example, when Russia invaded Ukraine, They had a bunch of Russia had a bunch of assets that were seized by America, right? So imagine you buy American bonds, like 10-year bonds, and you buy billions of dollars worth. And then you do something that America doesn't like you invade Ukraine. And they go, hey, you remember those $50 billion you bought our bonds with? That money's ours now. We're keeping it. Right? It's like if your cousin leaves his car at your house and you get mad at him and take his car. Eventually he's gonna be like, yo, actually I need a car that someone can't take, or I need to store my car somewhere where nobody can confiscate it, right? So it kind of creates this like competition between every other country in the world as well, right? Because you don't want confiscatable wealth, right? If South Korea does something that America doesn't like, does that country deserve to lose half of their assets that they had invested in America? Like that doesn't even make sense, you know? So what I think happens is I think this becomes like game theory, and all the other countries start to mine Bitcoin themselves, and then they start to run nodes because nodes could be miners, yeah, nodes. I mean, miners can run nodes as well, right? So they could be one and the same, but um, countries get involved with this. They buy Bitcoin, they have their nodes, they have their miners because they don't want to be shut outside of the system. So what
Yeah.
that could mean for us is that everybody is going to be nation states are going to be buying Bitcoin. So y'all watching this with your 0.10 Bitcoin thinking it's not a big deal. Okay, well watch when these countries start buying Bitcoin and they send
Mhm.
that shit to $10 million. Now your zero point 0.1 Bitcoin is now worth $1 million,
Yeah.
and you bought it for 10 grand watching, three RNs lead you to freedom.
I was also gonna say that how you were showing what was that website that you just had with the blocks?
Mempool,
Yeah, how you
Mempool
were showing on Mintpool that each new block comes in every 10 minutes.
every
But
10 minutes.
yeah, so that also is depending on the hash rate at the time. So Bitcoin has this thing called its difficulty adjustment. So it
out to 'em.
yeah, so basically I know in China, what year was it that, if anybody knows, that they banned mining? What was it, 2020, 2019, 2018?
Yeah, one of those two.
Yeah, so when China had banned mining, the hash rate fell for Bitcoin substantially low. So it became a lot easier for other miners to mine Bitcoin. So the mining time went from like 10 minutes to like 7 or 6 minutes. So Bitcoin has this thing where it will adjust the difficulty of how hard it is to mine a new block to keep that 10-minute number consistent.
And that's so raw because what happens is imagine somebody out there creates a faster computer,
Hmm.
right? They create a faster computer that can make more guesses per second, right? And
Yep.
actually crack the code to get the reward to mine. All right, that's cool, bro. Now the difficulty adjustment kicks in. Now it just the problem to solve for all the miners just got that much harder,
Yeah.
right? So because of your supercomputer, like cool, you mined one block. Now this whole thing's going to get harder, right? I think
Yeah.
the adjustment happens every two weeks or whatever. So
Hmm.
think about this: as computers get smarter, as computers get faster, the difficulty adjustment is what allows the Bitcoin network to keep getting smarter or requiring better equipment as well,
Yeah.
right? So you can imagine that in 20 years, computers will be faster, more processing power, more guessing power, than they are today. So you think like you can't just bring a computer from, 20 years in the future and then just take all the Bitcoin. No,
Yeah.
there'll be a difficulty adjustment. So this thing just makes the network stronger. The difficulty adjustment alone is probably one of the like wow factors. You're like,
Yeah.
damn, bro. So, like even if I had a super smart computer, I can't just win everything, you
Hmm.
know? So I know we joked about the quantum computing thing earlier. So what I would say is people are like, oh, there's going to be a quantum computer, blah, blah. One, we have the difficulty adjustment. And two, as soon as the quantum computers get released out into the public, well, then don't you think the people who run nodes will use those computers or those chips? The people who mine will use those computers or use those chips, right?
Hmm.
So now you have quantum computer, and same thing with wallets. So what will happen is you'll have quantum resistant nodes, quantum
Yeah.
resistant miners, or quantum resistant wallets protecting the network,
Hmm.
Yeah.
right? And you're
We'll
like, bro,
we'll adjust with the times. And what people don't realize is there's the devs behind the scene that are working on these exact things and issues. There are people, there are just like there's smart people on the other side of the stick, there's also very smart people on the Bitcoin side of the stick that are making the network better. They're making things better for Bitcoin. We have different layers within Bitcoin that we'll get into in a different series with the base layer. We have liquid, we have layer two, we have different layers. And just like the internet, when it first came out, it's broken up into layers. You just don't have everything at once. So there's people that are on Bitcoin side that are looking at these different things. There's developers that
yes.
are working on bugs. There's as operating systems improve, like we don't have people think that we're not gonna just stay the same. The Bitcoin network realizes that as as a human race, we're gonna continue to keep growing. Things are gonna get better, and Bitcoin has already have that set in its code to adjust with those times.
So I wanted to talk about um, the reason why I wanted to even bring up the network, especially so early on, is because when we're telling people like, hey, we're putting our money into Bitcoin or we're putting all our wealth into Bitcoin, blah, blah, blah. This isn't something that, hey, we're just buying this random thing and we hope it goes up. Like, no,
Yeah.
we understand what the hell is going on. There's an entire network. There's all this computational power defending the network, making the network stronger, right? So the asset makes the network stronger, the network makes the asset stronger, and y'all got the nerve to talk about XRP. You know what I mean? Like this before. No, but
There's
I
been,
want you guys to think it's not like we're
there's
not
been
just picking a random coin and being like, let's dump our money here. Hopefully it goes up.
Yeah.
there's there's been over 1 billion transactions on the Bitcoin, 1 billion flawless transactions on the
Yeah.
Bitcoin network, right? This is completely decentralized, meaning that no government, no president, no king, no queen, no state, no nobody has control and can change this. Look back at all the history of what's already happened with Silk Road, with what SBK or what's
Uh,
SBF.
Yeah.
Look,
FTX.
FTX. Look back on all these things that have happened are and still happening, and guess what? The Bitcoin network has not changed not once.
Not
Blocks
Yeah.
once.
blocks are still mined every 10 minutes. You go back in time and look and see when everyone thought when Bitcoin dropped 80%, 90% at whatever time that it did it, because it's done it multiple times, the network stayed the exact same.
Yeah.
So
Look, you're
that's
right.
why people need to take the like take the looking at the price out of logic and look at the meat and the
Bro
potatoes
about
of
to make me buy some more Bitcoin right now.
did anything change when there was an 80% drop, when it shot up to 200 and then back down to 80, or when it shot up to 60,000 and back down to 18,000? Did anything change in the network? There's still 21 million that's going to be mined. Blocks are still mined every 10 minutes. Hash
Hash
rate
rate's still up.
continues to
Yeah.
Yeah.
grow. Adoption is still getting better. More nodes are coming on the network. More people are mining. More people are creating easier ways for people to mine at home. There's countries in Norway that are using miners to mine entire cities. There's countries like El Salvador that are using volcanoes to use some of that energy to be able to mine. You got other countries that are starting to adopt it as their national. Like you have there's so much happening right now, and I feel like people are just so consumed. You just got to stop and take a look and see what's going around. If Bitcoin is so bad, why are these countries trying to get so much of it? why
Yeah.
are why why now are we talking about possibly uh you know making it a reserve for the United States? Like, even if these things happen or don't happen, it doesn't stop what Bitcoin is going to do,
TikTok next block.
Yeah.
regardless of what country wants to do what, regardless of what president says what. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter what they say. They've tried to ban it. They've already tried to kill it off. I truly believe they tried to kill it off during the whole COVID stuff, and that just
Hmm.
increased. It doubled in price during COVID time. So people more
So
people more people are starting to catch on. It's like, as we continue to do these and we talk about more, like I said, I feel like covering the network and the asset side of it is a very important part to start out in the beginning, so people can get a good grasp of what's actually going on behind the scenes, besides number just go up on the screen.
What's
Yeah.
the number? Will just go up on the screen though. Hey, we don't do numbers, but what Ace said that I like too is like, a even when the price goes down, the network itself is still rolling on, right? So when I was deep into the stock market, I used to use this analogy, right? So let's say you and your wife are going to go look for a house, right? And you see this house that you like in this good neighborhood, good schools, there's low crime, and the house is $500,000. And then something happens in the economy and the house falls to $300,000, right? So you and your wife are like, hey, let's go look at that house again. We really like that house. Let's go look at that house again. When you pull up to that house, right, you have to acknowledge it's still in the same neighborhood. The schools are still good schools, right? It
Hmm.
still has 3 bedrooms and 2 baths like you like it. There's still a swimming pool in the back. The crime is still low, right? So the price falling ends up being a good thing for you, right?
Hmm.
The system itself, right, or the network itself, like, if you were to consider like maybe the police and the crime as a network or the school system as a network, right? The network itself is still up and running. The house is still the same. The roof didn't get any worse. It still has 3 bedrooms, two baths like you like. It still has a 3-car garage like you like. Nothing has changed with this house except the price,
Yeah. I
right?
would
So why wouldn't you buy the house?
exactly. I was also even gonna say how like the Bitcoin network has stayed the same. It's what was so cool to me when I was first going down my Bitcoin rabbit hole was there's no central owner or entity over Bitcoin. Like you can take the next popular cryptocurrency, Ethereum. There's Vitalik, the Ethereum Foundation, that they're the entity over Ethereum. They own 30-40% of the supply. And before Ethereum was they did Ethereum mining, so it was also proof of work at one point. And then they just woke up one day and say, all right, let's go to proof of stake because that's better for us as our foundation. Because if we have proof of stake and we own most of the supply, then any changes or rules is going to be coming up to us because we have most of the supply to be staking there. And everybody who had all that mining equipment, who put all their time into the mining or they trusted Ethereum for this specific reason, they could just wake up one day and be like, okay, so now we're just going to go to proof of stake and just switch our entire network portion. So not only with these altcoins are the price fluctuating, but also the network is also fluctuating because they all have central entities that run these coins. And Ace, I know you were going to get into proof of work, and do you kind of want to still get into how Bitcoin's proof of work is what ties it from it being this digital thing to like the real world with mining?
Chris, you get my message?
Uh,
Yeah, so pretty much like I was saying on for proof of work, that goes back into what we were talking about on the blockchain on how it
hey,
eliminates
yeah,
how nothing can.
go ahead, bro. I'll take over.
You want to take over this one? Okay.
Yeah. I'll take over. He's got to run. All right, hey, bro. Welcome. And like we were telling y'all that we'll be doing these in person. So, bro, will be out in person with us.
Oh
But you
yeah.
guys go follow him and keep up with him on social media. It's no time zone. I always tag him and everything and retweet him. So go take care of your business, bro. Me and OJ will hold the fort down.
All right.
All right, y'all.
All right, so check this out. So what OJ was saying is like how proof of work ties Bitcoin from being just this thing that exists on the internet into the real world, right? So let's say it was just the PDF. If Bitcoin was just a PDF or it was just like, like a painting that everybody had a copy of, right? It wouldn't be valuable at all because then somebody else can just, like he said, it's open source. If somebody else can just copy the source and paste it, and then boom, now you have another Bitcoin, right? Because
Hmm.
people like to ask all the time, like, yeah, can't you just make another Bitcoin? Yeah, sure, it's open source. Go make another one. But there's things in the real world that tie Bitcoin into the real world, from a digital asset to the real world, like miners, right? Like computational power. So it's not like a computer can just copy this and paste it, because now you have to have people who mine it, which means you have to have miners, which means you have to have electricity, which means you have to have a place to store the miners so they don't get destroyed by the elements. So there's things in the real world that you still need to make this digital thing go round. If it were only digital, it wouldn't work. Now,
Yeah.
when it comes to these fuck coins, they're mainly only digital, right? Just
Yeah.
copy and paste. Oh, that's why there's 20,000 crypto tokens out
Yeah.
there. You got what I'm saying? Copy and paste, copy and paste. Instead of calling it fuck coin, we're gonna call it shit coin galore. Like, who knows, bro? And you have to realize that that's not something you want to store your money in, because they just spawn out of nowhere,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, or even if you think of the dollar like that, right? So the amount of money that it takes to create a $1 bill is the same amount of money it takes to create $100 bill, right? But the
Mm-hmm.
amount of money it takes to bring one Bitcoin into the network versus the amount of money it takes to bring 100 Bitcoin into the network are completely different.
Yeah.
You can't just type on a computer and bring 100 Bitcoin into existence, but you can with the dollar, but you can with fuck coin.
Yeah.
So
It's even crazy that I think there's only two other than Bitcoin, one or two other coins that use proof of work. I think isn't Dogecoin one of them? But the thing is with the coins that
maybe,
do, yeah, the thing is with the coins that do, the supply is unlimited. So they're
yeah,
just gonna they can just have an unlimited supply, so that doesn't really give that coin value. So I just think the cool thing about Bitcoin is not only is there a limited supply, there's also something that's tying it to from the digital world to the real world.
yeah. There's a few of them out here.
There's a few
Doge,
other.
yeah, Dogecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Ethereum Classic, Caspa. Yeah, there's a few of them. So if you were to say, like, even if you were to ask about any fuck coin, you can just start there. You could just start with, is it proof of work? No,
Mhm.
hell nah. Because
Yep.
that means somebody can just print it into existence,
Yep.
right? But then you also, okay, so then you say, what about the other ones who are proof of work, right? Well, no, right? So the thing about it is, like you said, it still depends on the supply of things, right? Like people making unlimited amounts of supply, or people being able to increase the supply out of anywhere, or people even issuing a token and stashing some of that supply away themselves,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that could be a thing. Somebody can bring a bunch of coins into existence and sell you the rest, and then say, okay, now you got to mine for them, even though I didn't, or even I, mined the first 10,000, and now you got to go get the rest at a different price,
Yeah.
right? So, but yeah, the proof of stake thing, it's mainly, it's whoever has the most of that thing controls the network, and of course, the Ethereum Foundation has the most of that thing because they issued it to themselves. They didn't buy it fair and square, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
And
So I think, go ahead.
go- I was just gonna say, I think a lot of Ethereum bulls, I don't even think they realize why they made that switch from proof of work to proof of stake or any other random ass coin. Like, I feel like one, people don't look into the foundations that run these coins. Two, people don't look what's the incentive for these foundations. And then three, they don't look at the tokenomics of the coins, like, okay, what's the circulating supply? How many of the supply does the foundation own? What's the max supply? Like, I don't think anybody looks at any of these three things. They just, okay, I'm buying it, the price low, I need this price to go up. Like, trust me, bro. Like the trust me, bro. They don't look
Trust
at
me, bro.
because you can go to anybody because I know a popular one. We always get on XRP ads because that's a popular one right now. Because I just feel like if you go to anybody who is a super XRP a bull, they can't tell you anything that's on the white papers. They can't tell you about the tokenomics. They can't tell
Trust me,
you.
bro.
Yeah, it's just it's just trust me, bro. Like it.
It's trust me, bro, or we're gonna take over the Swiss system,
Yeah.
and then that's another thing too. Like, all right, bro, if Russia got kicked off the SWIFT system, right?
Hmm.
And Russia needs to find a new currency, and an American company controls the SWIFT system, and Russia gets kicked off.
Hmm.
What makes you think Russia would go back to another American company or deal with
Yeah,
America ever again or any other country? What people are starting to miss is that people want currencies or money that they cannot be boxed in or out because everybody has
exactly.
recognized that America has control of the currency, therefore control of their economics. And they
Hmm.
don't want that. I don't want America to be able to sink my economy, or I don't want America to be able to yeah, like tamper with how much money we have, how many assets we have over here, how many assets we have over there. Outsiders think this, insiders, the Americans think the same thing. Like, hey, I don't want a central bank to be able to sink the cost of my savings account or the value of my savings account.
Hmm.
So I think people are missing that part. So, but you know what? This just thinking about this end up being a smooth episode because I want people to see that there's more that goes into this than
Yeah.
buy this thing and it goes up,
Yep.
which it will. But
Yeah.
still,
Yeah, a lot of people, I think it was good that Ace came on and really deep dive into the network side of things. And because a lot of people, day-to-day people, don't understand the network side of Bitcoin at all. Like, hashing, mining, they don't even know how Bitcoin comes into circulation. So I think it was a good episode just to explain to people how all of that side of things work. And I think with the next episode, I think what would be cool if we did an episode on Bitcoin versus whatever, like gold or real estate, because now that go ahead.
okay. Well, I was gonna say let's do that, and then let's also add in like where to buy Bitcoin and how to store it. So we
Okay.
can do both.
Okay. All right. I'm
And
down
it's
for
kind of
that.
cool if we just come up with the topics off the top of our head.
Facts, just hey, just
Yeah.
go say like or on the fly, just hey, let's talk about this today. All right,
Let me
cool.
know, yeah, next time. Like, hey, what are we gonna talk about next time? But yeah, we'll compare it to other asset classes, and we'll also talk about where to buy your Bitcoin and how to store your Bitcoin. Right. So I hope you guys understand one, why we get rid of our Diddy dollars, right? Our dirty Diddy dollars, and then two, I hope you guys understand that there's a bigger picture here. That there's
Hmm.
a network with miners and people who run nodes to protect the system and to validate that every transaction is legit, and I can't send OJ 4 Bitcoin if I only have one, right?
Yeah,
To make sure that nobody is cheating, nobody has the advantage up on anybody else, right? That your computer needs as your computers get faster and better, so will the defense of the entire Bitcoin network, and that all these people are coming together to keep this thing strong and to keep this thing alive, man. And we're grateful to even find something this dope. Like
yeah.
there was a big problem out in the world, which is the central banks abusing the money printer, and Satoshi came with that hot shit, and he solved it, and we hopping on board.
Do you have any closing thoughts, or that was your closing thought?
That's it. Unless you got anything for me.
Hey, get rid of them Diddy dollars. That's my closing thought.
No Diddy dollars. Hey, if you watch the full episode, no Diddy dollars in the comments. $50 in the comments. All right, give rid of them Diddy dollars. You got through this whole thing, man. Drop a no Diddy dollar comment in the
Yeah.
comment section.
Hey, it's gonna be funny. I'm gonna even forget what like you said, and then you just see the comments, no Diddy dollars.
No Diddy. Hey, we don't want no Diddy dollars. But yeah, that's episode 3. Oh man, I'm Chris. That's OJ. Ace is the third RN, and we just trying to lead people to freedom, man. Because if not, the central banks are going to continue to squeeze us dry and soak up.
Hmm.
Take up all our purchasing power. So remember, you don't want more money; you want more purchasing power, and they're hurting your ability to get more purchasing power.
Yup. What he said.
Anything else? Up there?
No, I'm just seconding what he said. No Diddy dollars.
No Diddy dollars. We out.
All right.